Addiction thinks in circles, whereas invention thinks in spirals.
Yes. Yes.
And I
Yes.
love it. And spiral is not one dot, it's actually one seed becoming bigger and bigger and bigger
Mhm.
and bigger and bigger and bigger.
So I'm grateful for that. And then two, just the pain just reminding me like this body is so amazing.
Where else can you go
Hmm.
other than inside?
Hmm.
And when you're so almost like forced to face yourself, you find lots of love. Yo, yo, yo.
How's
I'm not
it?
that. I think we need to learn from Carly how to open properly her calls. She's so good at it.
Well, she's kind of introducing you for the first time, so I think she puts a little more effort into it. And also, we do like I kind of read a little bit before when we publish these videos, so we're good. We can jump in.
Yeah, our prep is behind the scene, backstage, and then
Yeah.
our front stage is just free flow. Whatever
Mhm.
comes,
Right.
we just grab it.
Mhm.
All right. So today's key is 16th key. Both Eric and I have this key, and apparently his entire family has it too. So there's a lot to say.
And
You
programming.
feel free.
I'm seeing that it's programming partner is 9. I'm just checking, remembering.
You mean, do you have it? Ooh, I have it. It's my radiance.
Oh, yes.
And your SQ. Wait, they do go together back to
Yeah,
back.
yeah. Inertia, determination. That's really interesting. Yeah, this one, like the shadow was wildly applicable to my history, and even, there's always work to be done, even current situation. The gift was so interesting, and then the city just blew my mind. And it's super fresh because I just read it. So I'm excited for each phase of the discussion, kind of see what we come up with.
Hmm. I laughed at it
Mm.
because I read it many times. And every time I read it, it actually kicks in differently.
Mhm.
Hence why this is a prophecy. Or maybe we need another word for it. Hence why this is a life learning process or progress.
Mhm.
Depends on what are you going through at the moment. You'll get the key, every shadow, every gift differently. So this
Mhm.
time I laughed at it because this really irritates me nowadays when the shadow pops up and I am aware of it, but maybe I'm just projecting it on me. You know how nowadays people say we project to the other?
Yeah.
What if we project to ourselves when you are with you, going to bed with yourself, waking up, or like literally talking to yourself? Are you projecting what you're the most afraid of? Maybe.
That's a Isn't that the structure of this three-dimensional reality? Isn't it based upon the mental forms that we project out? So it has to be projected back onto us.
Mm. Meaning, is it all mental when we get in the cycles?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
kind of like, you know, to say like, oh, you're projecting onto me, it's like you could like a funny quip response could be, duh.
Yeah. And interesting. Do you feel the projections are only based on the shadows, not gifts, not CDs?
Yeah, yeah. When it's referred to in that way, yeah, it's usually shadow based.
Yeah. And why? Why can't I project my gift to you?
That's a wonderful point. Next time someone's being amazing or lovely, I'll just think of that. Like, thank you for projecting onto me. Like, what are you talking about?
Okay, so we naturally project our shadows outward or inward, and we naturally reject our gifts outward or inward.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, what a mess. And you're saying it's all because our mind is playing tricks on us all the time.
Yeah.
So
Is
let's
it a
dive
trick
in.
or yeah. Yeah.
Is it trick or what?
Is it a trick or is it like, just part of the experience of Matrix of in the Kabbalion, all is mental. It's like I think it's the first law of the Kabbalion. All is mental. Just part of the existence we're in.
It's a whole another subject to touch.
Yeah.
Especially based on the recent events that happened yesterday.
Should we, without getting, because I don't think we need to get political, should we touch on where we are in time?
Okay. Go for it.
Okay. So today is July 14th, 2024. If you're listening, you might know why it's significant, what happened yesterday, or you can look it up now and think back to what's going on in our collective energetic field and what's happening and all the drama unfolding and how it's affecting humanity as a whole. It's very, very it felt like a big shift to me. I don't know if that's how it felt to you.
Adult.
Say again?
Adult.
Adult?
Jolt.
A jolt. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Do you wanna have 2 cents on it? Just from your energetic space. General.
Mm, it was interesting when I saw when it first came to me, I was like non-reactive, and then as time settled, like an hour or two, it would kind of just like confirmed externally what I felt was already shifting, like internally and as in the energetic space. Like I kind of felt like you said, jolt. It's interesting. It's like there's inertia where this thing is turning, and then it's like it was trying to get over like a stone or a pebble, and it got over it and just like crashed down really quickly. Like it moved, like everything moved it like a significant step further than where it was already moving. That's my interpretation. How about you?
It's so not this level of I mean, okay, let me find words for it. The amount of unpredictability for this, unknownness, randomness,
Yeah.
shockness, suddenness kind of placed a lot of things in a perspective of, yeah, the things that we think will happen might not happen, right? So it kind of gave very much the awareness of a potential randomness that can occur.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or meaning, like you think you're going in the direction that you're going, but bam, something can jolt you, and just like, and to me, that is honestly the law of randomness that we never think of. Rather than law of attraction, law of manifestation. We're always like aiming to get to the target, but how about we don't get to anything? Yet we allow something to happen, and we trust it. And we always comes back down to, do we really trust the universe that it knows what it's doing? That heart. And it's like, damn, man, the moment we lose all the trust is when we gain it the most. that
Mhm.
second is split, that everything spins upside down, which is the death and the beginning. And if we just reverse the definition of these two, the death and the beginning, and actually gave them different meaning, is
Mhm.
the ending actually the beginning? And is the beginning the actual end of something? It's like, gave me totally different perspective. And I was just in awe of the forces that are not us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Beautifully put. Thank you.
okay, so the 16th shadow is indifference. And we're going to, again, try not to spend so much time on shadow, but there's so much to say on shadow. I can kick it in. I really
Sure.
like this first one.
Mhm.
And it's called The Shadow here, explained as a story of the diffusion of responsibility. And the first or second sentence of it is, as long as you're indifferent, you cannot be different.
Mhm.
And I just circle this again and again and again and again. As long as you're indifferent, you can't be different. And aren't we all here to be different? Or are we here to be the same as everything else, as everybody else? Are we here to follow our path or everyone else's path? Are we here to have exact same copy of the physical look, intellect, mind, brain, heart, soul, lessons, traumas, and everything else? Emotions? No. And I'm loving the feeling of the overall evolution of the differences.
Mhm.
And it feels that a lot of us are getting more and more comfortable to be different.
Yes.
It's either going to be a male with a beard and full-blown makeup on, wearing and speaking the truth of whatever that we label, whatever side that we take, whatever
Mhm.
gender that we take, whatever stand that we have. But do we take the stand for ourselves, or do we take a stand for them or other? Is the question. This puts it very much in a perspective.
Hmm.
If you're not different, you are indifferent by default,
Yeah.
and you're operating under the shadow. So it forces you to think, what are you different about? What do you stand for? Who are you?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it's tough for me conceptually because um I don't feel like I'm that different. It's like harder for me to like place the aspects where I'm different. But if I bring in very subtle, very nuanced things, like the way I respond to certain situations, or the way I act when faced with a challenge, or the way I choose to raise my boys, like there's not, in a nuanced way, there's not really anyone I know where I'm like, they're doing it just like me. But if we get really like fast and loose with like categories, like I am you label yourself as something, like you could say um I'm a homeschool dad, and you're like, well, I'm just like every other homeschool. It's like, but you're not. You're just like, there's differences within it. And I think too, this is bringing up something for me around the indifference also is either the inability or the unwillingness to look at what those subtle differences are and then kind of like own them as part of your uniqueness. Because we have the fear that if you fall outside of a group or an identification, that you'll be the loneliness or whatever fear around not being part of a group comes up.
Mm. You mentioned, is it ability or willingness to look at?
Yes, I did mention that.
So do you think everybody has ability to look into it, but they don't have the will for it?
Yeah.
Or
I mean, I would hope I hope so. Reading The City, makes me think that everyone has the ability, because he says we all have the kinesthetic knowledge to play Rachmaninoff's third, whatever, the one of the most difficult piano pieces. And I'm reading that, and I'm still like, even reading that and knowing Richard and the Gene Keys, I'm very skeptical. I'm like, are you sure? Like, we can just play it? So, like, for me, I'm like, if I can anchor some belief that that's possible, then of course we all have the ability to see our differences.
Mm. And you don't think we can if we just like practice it for 7 years?
Oh, the piano piece?
Yeah.
Every every single person. Yeah, time is interesting, right? It's like, how do you, because you can say you practice. It's more about like intent and willpower, and as part of like the versatility and the mastery is like your ability to approach things with a certain energy. Um, yeah, I don't want to get too much, like, I don't want to get too
Yeah.
pulled into cities right now, but yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting because you're mentioning the will, and will is the part of the indifference as well, and that comes behind the enthusiasm. So how do you, I've been asking this for a long time, how do you teach someone will? And is this inherent thing that comes with us, or is it something that we can just work on because it's based on the bodily energy? Right, we can go to the gym, eat good dieta,
Yeah.
and really get the energy, sleep well, and then really feel energetic. Feeling energetic doesn't mean that I'm enthusiastic about something. And if I am enthusiastic about something, where is my will to actually go and pursue that? Or maybe I can just be a couch potato and decide not to. How do you teach will? Where is this coming from?
Yeah. It's a tough question. It's kind of like chicken or the egg, which came first? Like the decision, and then what follows is like the good habits that build belief and build momentum. Like, you're kind
Yeah.
of approaching it like like a life coach or a personal trainer. Like, you get someone to step out of indifference. Like, if you look at extreme indifference, like someone's like literally doesn't get out of bed, doesn't work, doesn't do, doesn't, yeah.
Yeah. Here, okay, this is just game, and I think it's such a good example. It's like buying a book and reading it. Buying a book is enthusiasm. Reading it, it's a will.
Right.
As many people buy a book, put it on the shelf, never end up reading it.
Right.
So you can have enthusiasm, but where is the will to actually go for it and complete it? Why? Because it takes time.
Hmm.
And it goes back to, we often give up of it because it takes time. What if it doesn't take 7 years for you to stick with it in order for you to become such a master and really get rid of the shadow? What if, and or 7 years in the human life sentence? But what if, for all good and mastery and talent, what if it does take repetition, 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 discipline, and really dedication and devotion to something where
Hmm.
you just pull from the will? So you better find something you like, comes back to it. Otherwise, you'll imagine just turning around and being like, damn, 7 years of wrong thing.
Yeah.
That would fucking kill me. Well, actually, not that I never did it. Of course I did it.
Yeah. But you still come out the other side with like a beautiful lesson that you wouldn't have had. And then even with that, like, you now have a new perspective, and it's worth something. It's worth something because you've chosen to make a a different life for yourself in 7 years, that you currently, instead of being like, I want to be exactly the same in 7 years, like, please don't change anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's important too, to distinguish um what indifference does look like, because I think it's with this, what came up was like, am I really that different, and kind of questioning it, and that doubt. And then when I'm thinking about nuances, I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of ways I'm different. And I think each person can find a little bit of that. And two, also realizing like, you might be indifferent energetically the majority of the time, but are you really indifferent all of the time? Because if you're indifferent, like total, like in a totalistic fashion, like your whole being is like shut down, you would be manifesting some disease, or like your life would be wrapping up quickly, I think. I don't
True.
know. Yeah.
Your muscles will atrophy. What's it called?
Mhm.
Like when you like disintegrate
Mhm.
if you're staying flat.
Yeah.
What came while you were talking is that how do we measure the difference between each other? We don't. It's not measurable. So
Mhm.
what makes it more or less better or worse? How am I more different than you, or like bigger, or why is my yellow color brighter than yours? But what makes it right and wrong? Mental thing.
Yeah.
Who says? I say to
Yeah.
myself that I'm wrong or right. So
Yeah.
really, the war on this is really within only.
Yes. Beautifully put.
Yeah.
Growing up, I had this like recurring struggle when, I don't know, I think I was like 6 the first time I thought about this. But I was like, how do I know that the red color that everyone's talking about is the same for everybody? And for some reason, it was colors that I did that with, but we can do that with everything, like
Yeah.
attaching meaning to something, like a collective meaning, and then just trusting like everyone's on the same page. And
Yeah.
then
Which,
pain was another easy one to do it with. I'm like, if I stub my toe and they stub their toe, how do I know it's the same feeling?
yeah. So what gives it the form then? The collective thoughts.
That's interesting.
How do I know the Eric that I know is the same Eric that Carly sees?
We can't
So we trust what?
trust what we
Our,
see.
ourselves.
Yeah, right.
So good.
Yeah.
Oof, we can go off on this. Okay,
Yeah.
a lot more. Whew, okay. Okay, what about this? Because human beings are not willing to stand up and be different, they become willing to sit by the side of life and observe and observe. In a social psychology, this common human pattern is known as the diffusion of responsibilities and refers to the human preponderance to look away when confronted by another in distress.
Yeah.
Do you feel this is actually changing nowadays?
Guilty. Um, I don't see much of a change there at all. Um,
What's your feeling telling you?
ask me in a way that kind of addresses the feeling part, and then I'll tell you.
Do you feel that collective is becoming willing and not sitting on the side of the road
Ah,
anymore, actually coming slowly onto the freeway?
yeah. Yeah, I can feel it. I can feel that. Yeah. What I think, no. It's funny.
Because this needs a proof. Prove me, prove me.
Yeah.
There's no proof. It's just a feeling.
Yeah.
And I feel like these people are just like becoming, there's like this like massive, one of those gifts that we talked about earlier. It's like that will be just annihilated by the collective and we won't even know when it happens. It's just going to be gone. We're not going to comprehend it anymore, or like just understand the concept of it any longer. It's just going to be gone. Poof.
Mm.
This one makes me feel like, ooh, well, people do want to stand up for something. There is a
Yeah.
power behind it and a big will and power. But whatever that it is, like, doesn't mean, it can come from anger or from injustice, but it's coming slowly to the collective, right? Fairness.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like there's a and it's kind of touching on what we first started talking about with the events that have happened. Like it's just like this shift. There's a shift that I feel from from humanity, the collective, and then as a result, there's like this, it's almost like there's like feedback loop. So it's, if we look at, I got to be careful with how I say all this. Let's say the average person, which can include like celebrities too, I guess. But the average person, like I feel like this shift is happening within each of us. And then the feedback that's happening at a level of like institution, where it's like a little, it's much, much slower. There's a lot more like pushback. There's barriers to getting the same level of movement. And so it's like there's like a feedback system where we're sending out this vibration, it's hitting like this wall, and it's like putting a crack in it, you know? And then but it comes back to us, and we have to like work it, work it out, and then we send it back, and it puts another crack in the wall. Yeah.
So you're saying the only way to know is to look within and see what's happening here, because it's mirroring of the collective in one way or another. So how do I know the collective is changing? I don't, but I can only see here, and something is happening here.
Yeah.
And I can't define it to know what it is, but there's innate trust that's just like part of this entire moment. Something trustworthy came out of blue.
Yeah.
And I didn't plan for it. I didn't put any effort to gain it or bring it up from sleep mode. It just happened.
Yeah, and it makes me think of the morphogenic field from, can't remember his name right now, but a researcher, he wrote a book, the morphogenic field, meaning like the collective
Rupert
information
Sheldrake.
that species carry. Rupert Sheldrake, yeah.
Yes.
Like there is scientific, measurable evidence supporting that theory that, if and then you're kind of speaking to that, like if I feel this shift, then it must be happening somewhere else too, or it must be emanating within some greater group.
The beautiful thing about it, we don't even need to say it. It's just there, and we're all aware of it.
Right.
And rather than trying to stand for something via language that is a tool also to use against, you decide to be quiet, to say nothing, and to feel everything and contribute that way.
Yeah. Do you feel like on a one-to-one basis with strangers or people on the street, do you feel like there's like you can kind of see a knowing with other people that feel the same way, or is it very individual for you?
It's not even physical. I feel it's not meant to be physical, because we are so used to doing it that way. We're used to connecting and acknowledging that we are on the same side or of something, or we belong to something together, or the sense of belonging in a collective. But rather than, it's the sense, and it almost feels like the sense that it's so far away from me that I share with someone else that shares it with someone else, and it's like a domino effect of random folks all over the globe that are just participating into this field. And my field can be different from yours, but we just happen to cross paths. So is randomness of all this chaos actually full of purpose? Why me? Why you? Right? So why not somebody else? Why us? Again, comes back down to it's so fucking random. It's so out of left field, but yet there is a sense of trust in it. And if I trust it, every morning I wake up more and more for some strange reason, I trust that I'm not alone, that I belong to something much concrete, that it's becoming its own form. And I don't know what it is. Maybe 10 years from now, we'll find out. Often that's how it happens, because it takes time, because it takes patience, minimum 7 years. But that will is just like there. Like I don't wake up saying, today I'm going to have 50 grams of will ordering from the customer. It doesn't It just is. It's
Yeah.
there.
And just a random question that's coming through. Do you feel more well today than you did before?
Oof, how do we measure? Let me see. The more my heart opens to all sides of something there is, like, I'll just take love, for example. If we open up for love this big, there must be the opposite of it. So as long, I want a fairy tale, but I might get the hell as well. So if I open to all of it, my field is expanding with it. The capacity is growing too. Somehow I can love you more now than I did yesterday. Somehow, if that means my evolution and my growth is, then with it comes everything else.
Mm.
It's like he mentions here actually in the gift as well. Once you touch, and it's almost like once you reach the certain level of your evolution, it just becomes domino effect across all gifts that you're born with.
Yeah. I think that's a good segue for this quote he put in here from the Holocaust survivor, Elie Wiesel. The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. The opposite of art is not ugliness, it's indifference. The opposite of faith is not heresy, it's indifference. The opposite of life is not death, it's indifference. I just thought about that because you said, if I open my heart more to all the possibilities, I'm going to get love and its opposite, which you're going to be exposed to more indifference, I guess.
Yeah. But that's my way, the unique way. It does not apply to anybody else. Yesterday I made a comment. Somebody asked me about, there's a lot of people, actually, a couple of people that want to come on our podcast, by the way, that I forgot to tell you.
Okay.
And they want to join. And I was like, let me talk to him, see how he feels.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And he just like had, a trio or quadro team. But I made a comment yesterday on, forget about it. It flew off.
Okay. It'll come back. Should I pull us in a little deeper here? The only reason for this state, meaning indifference, is fear. Whoever you are and whatever your life circumstances, if you transcend your fear, you will suddenly become so much more capable than you were before. To break out of the field of indifference is to make the courageous move deep into your own fears and overcome the lethargy that prevents you from making something truly beautiful out of your life. It's interesting because you're asking like how to give someone will. And I think it can be faked or like prescribed, like do this, then this, then you'll get this. Once you have this feedback, you'll feel a sense of purpose and you'll be moving forward, and you'll be right where I was 10 years ago when I started this journey. And it's like often that doesn't work. Like the whole follow me, like do what I did, it doesn't work because they have a different set of fears and a different set of traumas that they have to work through. It's going in. So like the best leaders that we have in this sense are the ones that are encouraging us to look within, to do the work, to sit in silence, and to spend time being honest with themselves, really thinking, how can I open more? How can I accept more of who I am?
This keeps coming back, which is what I lost. It just came back. Don't follow me, please. Don't follow anything that I'm saying. And I was talking about this podcast that you and I are doing, and we're like, we really are not doing it for whatever reason, but there's no reason why we do this other than we just enjoy the time and we're sitting there, and through it, something is happening, some sort of evolution, healing, expressions, release, whatever that is, something is happening. So that happen, there's intention is just to come and dedicate the time
Yeah.
and energy to it. And as such, because there's no expectation, we never know which way we're going to go. Something gets released because we trust the process. But my advice was to the person that I was talking to, please don't listen to what we're saying. To a point where I'm like, it's not meant for you to listen to it, meaning to write the notes and follow every single step of how we did certain things, because it doesn't make us better than you. What makes you is your own way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I elaborated on like the only way to do that is really what you're saying is that if you don't follow anybody, that the leaders will tell you, the true leaders, nobody's leading, they just happen to have nothing more than we do. Maybe they happen to just be more elaborative or more, their dictionary of humane language was more simple, right? So it's like, so everybody can comprehend, and suddenly, I don't know, the tools are used for that person to stand out amongst 1,000 others, because they knew how to maneuver the internet or technology to make them stand in the light. But it doesn't make them more than a normal person on the side. So don't think of it as more if we are willing to put ourselves on the internet and 1,000 others are not. I don't know why we're doing this. So if you are following anybody other than your own body or your own self in this body, then you're not following your truth. You're following someone else's truth, which makes you indifferent.
Mm-hmm.
You must be different. You need to be different. And for that to find it, you really have to stop listening to everybody. Stop reading books in general and just be in complete, as you said, silence to hear your own voice.
Mm-hmm.
Out of 5 million other voices that are all over your head, everybody's head. How did we do it? How did we do it?
How did we get here?
Yeah, literally, like there's no answer on why we did it. We just did it.
Yeah.
How? We just, I don't know, follow the impulse, right? So there was one moment you proposed because you followed the impulse. It felt true to you. At that moment, you met my frequency. We met at the same time. We crossed paths and we're like, is it yes? It's a fuck yeah. And if it's a fuck yeah, and then you go and you just kind of maintain it. And to this day, 6, 7 months, 8 later, we still have no expectations off of it because it's nothing if you really think about it. But yet it's so everything to our own individual sovereign selves.
Yeah. Our higher selves are probably elated that we're here, I would imagine. But it's interesting because you texted me the other day and you're like, I listened back to some of our talks and they're so good. And whenever I get, and sometimes you'll send these, and whenever I get this, I'm like, Carly, Melissa's like really excited for this. And I kind of don't know what she's talking about, but like, I'm good. I'm like happy that she's feel this way. Just because I'm like, to me, it is like one of the only things that I do in my week where I'm truly like, I don't know what will come of it. I don't really know beyond just talking through the gene keys. I don't really have an intent for this to reach anyone. Like, and for me, it's a fun space to be. It's just fun for me to be in that space because I don't really allow myself to do that very often. I tend to attach meaning and then as a byproduct, pressure to do things a certain way or perform a certain, get a certain measurement out of it comes in with it. So this is like a break for my mind and my body, and then my heart can step in a little more too.
Yeah, so good. I was proud of it because when you're author of the book, you don't read your book. When you create your own music, you don't listen to your music because a lot of it comes with you said byproduct or targeted feedback back. Like, I need something from this, but we are not having anything in return from this, which is, intention was just did not expect anything. And we to this day don't expect it. So when I look back to it and I listen, I was like, the fuck, I said this? What, wait, you said this? I don't recall saying any of it. It's like maybe from the field,
Yeah.
and I would listen to it. So it got me like, whoa. Months later, I'm listening to our episode 1 and I'm finding these gems and I'm like, wow, this is me? Which part? I want to meet me. I want to meet you, right? But we don't really know. And that's why I was so proud, because I would totally listen. And I'm very proud of it, actually. I go back and I'm like, damn, this rings a bell now, even now. So there's some sort of sustainability in it from my perspective, for me specifically. And I think it's living. It's living. It's living the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And and I imagine if I spent some time going back and listening, I would be like, oh yeah, this is great. I don't though. Um it's not intentional that I'm not like intending to avoid it or anything. I just don't really go back and check it out.
Yeah. I mean, you will one day, maybe in 10 years, and then you'll be like shocked. So it's a lot. It's living. What I meant by it's living through the time, meaning no matter how much time it passes, it radiates its frequency.
Yeah.
And I think that specific thing comes from being different, because that's the shadow here that we're talking about. It's like that indifference of like, if you just try. And he says here is like, the truth is that you are always ready. And this experience, having an experience, I'm loving this and I'm getting chills right now. So having an experience into something is critical to the process of breaking to the moment when you're actually taking a momentum and learning how to be unique self or following that impulse. Have the experience. A lot of people are afraid to even try.
Yeah.
Because they think, hey, tomorrow, or I'm too late, I'm 40, everybody's doing it. But at least try and modify as you go and play with it. This is fun for both of us because we don't fucking know. It's episode 1 and episode 15, totally different people.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the progress. And if you see the progress, just follow that momentum and you'll find your uniqueness by trying. So it says, it is not enough to daydream and plan how you might save the world.
Mm-hmm.
You have to actually begin to work.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's as an entrepreneur currently, Carly and I, like a lot of this stuff is parallel, talking about indifference and starting, and like you can't just have a dream. Like it really takes starting and having the experience, and you learn so much from, you probably learn the most from like the first video you make if you're a podcast creator or doing anything online, like you're putting yourself out there, like you learn the most from that. I think not necessarily from a skills-based perspective, like, oh, I got better at speaking and I got better at editing and I got better, just from the standpoint of like, I fucking did it. Like I did the first step. So now I know what it takes. And it's not harder, it's easier. Because the ball, like I've moved, I've taken the step, I know. And now that I put it out there, it's like that fear around like the unknown is gone because you now know what happened after. And there's a little bit of like, you never know when you put yourself out there continuously. You never actually know, but you have an idea of what's possible, and it removes some of the fear, just taking that action.
Yeah, you don't know what's going to happen out there, but you know what's happening inside.
Right.
And are you liking it? Are you not? Would you want to modify or not? Maybe this time I'll talk less. Maybe this time I'll try it. But the freedom and the safety of actually trying this and giving yourself permission to do so. This is a repetitive sentence nowadays across the collective. It's like giving yourself time. You and I dedicate 1 hour to 2 hours a week for this, and it feels liberating. But you know, the intention for it is to find the quality in it, some sort of quality. And the moment we enter, just I don't think we entered with our mind once for all these like sessions. I think we immediately entered with the heart because we feel safe. and we feel safe to have a bad day. We feel safe to talk a lot, to talk less. It's like, okay, but it's normal. The normalization of the moods and the seasons that we're both going through and problems in a backstage is like very normal. But that's the process, and it's welcomed in the field. And once you get into the field and create it intentionally with the other, it's easier for me with the other, then everything is welcomed. Everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shall we touch about prosperity for a second? Because this is what I guess brings prosperity too.
Yes. Let's
Uniqueness.
touch on it. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a deep, and we're still under the shadow, there's a deep entrepreneurial spirit here in the genetic codon. It is, after all, called the ring of prosperity. It is the fusion of human talent coupled with the power of group synergy that opens the field for true prosperity. Only, okay, so the more you expand into your talent or mastery or willingness or enthusiasm or your uniqueness, the more the universal field of consciousness responds, coming to meet you halfway. So only by striking out alone will you find the right people to support, orient, and bring your vision to fruition.
Yeah.
Keyword here, alone.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just had nearly a breakdown yesterday, feeling alone with building the business that we're building. Because I'm like, I just need someone to like speak to who knows exactly what I'm going through and who can like offer that sage wisdom when it's needed most. And I tend to turn to Carly for a lot of that stuff. But we're trying to distinguish roles right now, and part of that is like me not bothering her with like the overview of the business, the structures, the systems, who we're hiring or anything like that. And I'm like, well, then who do I talk to? I feel so alone. Like, how do I figure this stuff out? Like, if I'm gonna hire an employee, like, what, how should I approach it? What should I do? What should I consider? Like, should I even hire an employee? Because I kind of feel overwhelmed with work. Like, all these questions come up, and just at the end of the day, um, I can talk through it and get some sense of relief because I've like gotten it off my chest. But there's just an element of you are stepping out into this field of the unknown as part of the process of manifesting something new. It's something different. And you can't, like, there's no one I can look to on the internet who's done what we're doing because each thing has its own flavor and its own difference. And it's like, no one is Carly. So I can't type into Google and say, I have a Carly here and I'm working with her in the business. What should I? It's like Google doesn't know. And that's just one component. So yeah, this like resonates really strongly right now. It's really profound. And I feel too, it's like um there's also the element of thinking that by mastering your skill or getting the right talents in place, that you can force progress and force success. And anyone who's tried to do that will know like that doesn't work. There's an element of trust and an element of one thing I'm learning from Joe Dispenza right now is feeling the feeling of prosperity or feeling the feeling of success or feeling the feeling that comes with succeeding as a part of manifestation. Because when we're in this state of struggle or trying to like yank ourselves out, when we're using our mind to do it or our skills or abilities, it's like our own hand grabbing our head and trying to pull us out from the water. It's like it's not going to work. You kind of have to do the energetic work
the meditations, or however that looks for each person. And I think some people have the innate ability, or the innate knowing. Like, we often see people who were like, well, why are they successful? Because they kind of seem like a bad person. Like, we cast judgment to them, right? At least I've
Mm.
done this. And it's like, well, the thing we don't know is everything that's behind the scenes. And what we also don't know is that perhaps they went through enough struggle or received the right guidance to know the more esoteric elements to succeeding in business or creating something or being different. Because ultimately, that's probably what's triggering me and judging them, is like, well, you know, they're not like me, or whatever it is. It's like, well, exactly. That's exactly part of the formula for success.
Yeah.
Well, that was all over the place. I hope I hope you can.
No, I got it. I think it's a perfect example, because it's like you feel alone
Yeah.
in your process,
Mhm.
because you're innately alone in figuring out your process. So this is just the example on my side. I could be in a group environment and doing the same exact methodology
Mhm.
and doing the same exact breath work, and probably everybody's familiar with the breath work and where it can get you within 10-15 minutes. But my experience is very different. The way I get there might take me much longer than for you. I might need to move my body differently, wave or breathe shorter or longer. My process of getting to my space is different than your process of getting it. And yet we're in the same environment, listening to the same music, going through the same rhythm. Very different and unique.
Yeah.
And that to me is like, even if you're opening the business and you're trying to seek the help, any advice given to you, you'll probably won't even listen, because it doesn't apply.
Right.
You will try it and you most likely will fail, because that way it's not going to work with you. Most likely, maybe some technical stuff will work, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
But the
some
logistics,
micro learning can happen. Yeah.
yeah, but the logistics of it is like, how do you pay this employee, and do you do W-9s and stuff like that, right? So, or do you pay them on hourly or something? It's like those things are, if they're fixable within 2 seconds, then they're also breakable in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
If you get to the money really fast overnight, you can also lose it that overnight. If you build a business that actually has its legacy, that a long-lasting longevity and legacy, then it requires time. It requires all the mistakes. But for you to last that long, to do anything, it has to be your signature. It has to actually be a replica and extension of who you are.
Mhm.
So you're bound to have Carly and empire and business and still be alone in a lot of these things.
Yeah.
Alone. So what we're trying to do, we live in the system where everybody is going online and they're, oh, make quick money this way. Oh, make quick money. My nephew got caught in that scheme of
Yeah.
desires that are overnight, and he's 16. Again, very emotionally unstable, learning all these emotions, and the audacity was like, I can make faster money than all of you together
Yeah.
in the family, blah blah blah, and he just went like so cute and like naive, like major innocence in it, right? Because it seems so easy. I found the gold, and yet he lost the gold. He got 200 euros, and I don't know, was trading some pennies out
Yeah.
there on the internet, and fell asleep quickly, and the trade was open and he lost all of it within 2 seconds, right? And he couldn't handle it emotionally because he's not there yet, right? So
Yeah.
to gain 1,000 and lose it all within 2 seconds, it's like, whoa, what a, and he never touched it again, ever, was scared. But we have a saying in our culture, and I'll say it on Serbian. I don't think you ever heard me speak Serbian. Što je brzo, to je kuso. Which means is that when you get there fast, you're bound to lose it fast.
Mm.
It's not lasting. Like short-term things don't last long-term.
Mm.
Long-term things, meaning take it all your life. If If you can build something all your life and leave, that's the legacy behind it. You're leaving something that actually can last. And often it doesn't come in forms of material stuff. It comes in forms of massive changes for the others. It's not for you. It's not meant for you. But yet you're sitting there alone trying to figure it out. And the only way you can do it is relying on you and your uniqueness. And where do you tap into this creativity? Where do you tap it? Imagination, the music, playing ukulele, like you name it. It can come when you take a shower and play with your kids, like example. But listen to it.
Yeah. It reminds me of people that have succeeded. They often say, I'm trying to think of the quote. It's something like, it's not what I learned that got me there, it's who I became. It's like, it's not that I had to figure out the steps. It's that I had to change to become the person that fit with who that person is. Because like where we are now, if you're shooting for a goal, like say your nephew, he's trying to become a successful currency trader, whatever it is, it's thinking that he can do it overnight. I mean, of course there's like right time, right place, and maybe he gets lucky, but like you said, it comes fast and it goes fast. But to become truly successful at it, and I know because I do some trading on the side and have for, I think it's been 6 years now. And I've been through so many emotional roller coasters with it. And actually recently the thing I learned was so much of it isn't about what you know, isn't about like doing the right charts or reading the patterns correctly, or I mean there's elements of that for sure, but so much of being successful is having emotional intelligence and really having a mastery over yourself and knowing that often what happens is if everyone is, it depends on the market, right? But if everyone is feeling a certain way, it's often not what seems like it is on the surface isn't what it is underneath.
Isn't there a saying, don't buy the news?
Yeah.
And buy something. Often when it's in the news,
buy the rumor, sell the news.
Yeah.
There's that, and then there's also Warren Buffett has said he buys when everyone's fearful and he sells when everyone's euphoric.
The opposition.
And you have to play, like it's really interesting to be in it, like having money in it, because you can. What I first started doing was like I'll like play along with like fake money, and I was like, oh yeah, I got this, no big deal. Once you put money in, it's like you can feel your emotions playing in each decision, and then it's a whole different animal. And you can say like, okay, I was fearful here, I'm gonna buy. But then if it becomes more fearful, it's like you just learn
yourself.
And there's been so many lessons that have gone beyond physical realm for me from having money in trading. There's times when I'm like, this can only be like this situation that I'm in right now, like the depths of the depths or the highs of the highs. It can only be to teach me something emotionally that I didn't know before. And when I take it that way, it's like it doesn't matter what I make, it doesn't matter what success I have. And that goes back to it's the person that you become that changes. It's not like the skills you learn along the way. It's not taking the right steps or following the right advice. It's this transformational change that happens from within. And this goes back to how we started this Gene Key is like a good leader will point someone to look within themselves for the place to find that willpower.
Well said.
Okay, should we touch the repressive and reactive?
This is your favorite part. I think you did this for every single key. Go for it.
Is there a reason why no?
It's a law of randomness that just
Okay.
happened to be repeating itself.
Repressive is gullible or gullibility. So the gullibility essentially allows people to hide their indifference behind the indifference of others. At the deepest level, this gullibility fosters individual weakness and a feeling of powerlessness. Every time you turn on the news on television, for example, you meet this huge negative conditioning field. How you respond to this field determines your frequency.
Hence the current events that are happening.
Yeah. And this is tough because I feel like this is how I got through 2020, 2021, 2022, is I just stuck my head in the sand because it got to a level of it almost felt like if I accepted the negativity, because I'd already had like a level of awakening where I do feel the other as part of myself to some degree. So for me to put on the news or to like contemplate the depths of what we were going through collectively, it was too much. It felt like too much. Who knows if it was too much for me to actually handle, but
You talking COVID?
yeah,
COVID
COVID and everything that came with it. I mean, there's so many layers to it.
politics?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, this is where your power comes in place, I almost feel like, because gullible people and the propaganda really. So you're a historian, you like the history, and propaganda was that's designed to during the Second World War and to massively impact like the hatred among entire globe.
Yeah.
And interestingly, the guy, I don't know if I told you this, well, I don't know if we talked about this at all before. The guy who discovered and designed the propaganda as a tool to be used for masses during Hitler's war was Sigmund Freud's cousin, psychiatrist, some sort of psychiatrist based on the Freud's like way of understanding the psychotic states of human beings. And often it was just completely disregarded until nowadays it's coming back together with Jung. And Jung came after the Freud and was kind of learning from him, and then deviated on his own divine way or unique way of thinking. Yeah. So now the Freud is coming back, addressing all these archetypes and all these sides of self that are repressed. But propaganda was designed by his cousin, and it was used as a massive tool to for people to learn hatred and trust the hatred globally without knowing why they hate specific nation in that time. So the gullibility, these people become victim of the mass propaganda of the collective, and it is massively used tool to manipulate this human psyche and intellect. Especially if you don't question, rather than you just blindly follow. And if you question everything that comes your way, you question everything, especially in the informational age where everything can be this and misinformation, everything. And it is so dangerous to take anyone's truth as your own truth that you don't know which way to go and who to follow. And hopefully it forces you to come back to you only. So in the current events, for example, yesterday, what happened, and I'm replicating this like in the past as well, during COVID and all this like wars that I've been through in the past too. What are the initial event happens, the explosion happens, and there are like 1, 2, 3 things that happen. That's it. 1, 2, 3, the facts. And that's it. It stamps in the history, and I just drop everything else. The TV is off, the radio is off, the internet is off. I disengage completely because the information that we receive will stamp somewhere something in our brain without us even knowing. So it becomes part of our consciousness and unconscious, which operates our lives to tomorrow. So I choose not to. Yeah. And gullibility is also something that you can get out of, in my opinion, because we tend to, as Pisces, by the way, we tend to be very gullible people, trusty, because we trust the good in the world. Yeah. We trust that humans have the goodness. And as such, we would trust even when it's not good. You know, it's very natural tendency to do so because we're very humane in many senses. of it, but the gullibility is really powerful, and it's such a mass destruction when you see it on a collective level. It's really, really interesting to watch it.
Does it give you a feeling?
It raises the fear that massively we can be impacted by just one genius or lunatic, right? Where is the difference between geniuses and psychotic? Where is the line? There's no line. It just blends in left and right. You don't know, but you really only can trust yourself. So it's like it's a zombie apocalypse on a psychological level.
It
You
is.
know, I don't know which way I'm going, and I'm like, why is everybody doing this?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, how about I can sing? Maybe to do totally something opposite. It's like you're either at the
Yeah, yeah.
front or you're at the back. It comes down to don't belong to the masses. Just be different
Yeah.
intentionally. Try it.
Ah. Yeah. I'm like contemplating stories I've heard or movies I've watched where it's about, and there's a number of cases of this, but like about like the herd. Like it starts off with everyone's kind of acting the same way, doing the same thing. Brave New
Mm.
World as an example. Aldous Huxley. I think he wrote it in the 60s or 70s.
Is that a book?
Yeah. And it's about essentially like an extreme caste system in a utopian society. And this one guy starts questioning and he starts like, wait, we can't have this thing. And then he goes and finds a way to get it and he starts acting out. And yeah, it's, it does come back to fear of not fitting in, fear of not being accepted. And
Mm.
I think if I think back to when I had to make these choices in my life, it does feel like you might die. Like for the person that's listening right now and is like, well, what will happen? It's like it does, it's an intense fear to get through that you might not make it because you've never known anything different.
So really, it comes down to the fear of death.
Oh, I think that personally, like, sorry, coconut down. Personally, I believe there are deeper fears than death, but for but for most people, I that's probably the deepest they can go right now, and then later there's more to be explored.
Like, can you name the other seven? Or I'm
Well,
curious now.
I have one that is for me like deeper, which is the fear that the universe or God or whatever doesn't have my back. To me, that's deeper than death.
We talked about this on the last episode.
Yeah. To me, I'm like, because if you get to a certain place of acceptance, like, okay, I will die, there's still something beyond that, of like, well, you still have the rest of your life to live. And isn't it more scary than, okay, I will die, who knows when, or who knows how, or who knows what happens after? Um, like the universe doesn't have your back or God doesn't have your back.
But
Meaning,
isn't that
well, go ahead.
isn't that fear of being alone or abandoned?
Yes, it's like the ultimate fear of loneliness or abandonment or neglect. And I think this goes back to core wound. So in the Venus sequence, the very last sphere you get to is the core wound. And I think if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's four core wounds that we all come in with. One of them is fear that the universe doesn't have your back, which
It's
is
listed there.
he's talked about it, I think, and
Huh.
as he talks about the development of the Venus sequences or the Venus sequence. because originally when he had the download for the Gene Keys, it was he got the shadows first, I believe. And then he got the gifts, and then the cities came later. But then he said it wasn't until 2 years after that he then saw the structure of the Venus sequence and the sacred geometry and how it kind of shows up. And then the pathway came up later.
Hmm.
And he talks about the Venus sequence specifically being the most difficult for him to create. And then through that, he talks about the core wounds. I'll have to go back because actually at the start of this year, I went through the first sequence. I forget the name of it already. And then I jumped right into Venus
Activation.
activation. I jumped right into Venus and I got to SQ, and for some reason I just stopped.
That's the Venus sequence. That's exactly what happened to me, which is really interesting.
Really?
It's like I could not. I started actually right after the activation,
Yeah.
and I went to IQ and I stopped right there.
And
That was a couple years ago. IQ. Was it IQ was the first one, right? Or attraction and then IQ, SQ, EQ. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna skip the Venus and go to Pearl. And I'm like, I get the Pearl better than Venus. Venus, I just got stuck on it. Interesting. I didn't know that you had the same thing.
yeah, and I still have I want to, but it just
Yeah.
I think there's like a fermentation happening for me where when I come back to it, it'll be like ripe enough. Because I think
Yeah.
there's something in me that was saying, you're rushing this. You're like competing with who knows. You're trying to win the race or something. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So good.
Okay.
Okay.
Reactive, self-deluded. And this is so Delulu, like how it's like yeah. I see this now and I'm like, I'm in my 30s, so I'm not the first to catch on to these phrases. But it's kind of like owned, isn't it? Like I'm in my Delulu phase. Like
How do you define the Lulu?
people are like owning that. Like I'm delusional and I love it. Like
Oh, you mean like they identify with it?
yeah,
Yeah.
like
It's
owning
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. The labeling gets me nowadays of
Yeah.
anything or definitions of something that it's just like as a fixed and permanent thing and applies to everything.
Yeah.
Apply to all. So
Anyway, um
we as Pisces get this all the time that we are the Lulu. It's like an internet sensation. Ah,
I
anyway,
actually haven't heard that, but that makes sense. Okay, the
because
nature
you
of sorry, go
okay,
ahead.
because you feel the Lulu. Ah, it's
I don't
like
get that. They're like
Eric.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're a bird, I'm a bird. If you're the Lulu, I the Lulu too. Whatever. Okay.
Okay, reactive nature is self-deluded. The nature of indifference actually makes it impossible for a person to react. So the reactive nature in this instance appears to be something of a misnomer. Um, I was laughing during this part. These people hide their fear and their obsession with structure, systems, and techniques. They become so deeply identified with the structures their minds are following that they forget what the reason for the structure in the first place.
Hmm.
I've definitely been here before.
When is it a part of your early 20s?
Yeah.
Astrologically, can you just kind of squeeze in astrology
Yeah,
into
yeah.
this? You're 29, right?
No, I'm 33.
Whatever.
Close
Always
enough.
forget. I always think you're 29. But I was like, how cool. I'm actually over 10 years older than you. Bullshit. I'm full of crap sometimes too. All the time, actually. Anyway, astrologically, after the emotional stage, which is like 14, 16, and you start like learning all this, like your planetary geometric angles of the planets based on your natal chart, are circling around, and then Saturn comes back and returns to the spot in your 29. So all of this structure that you learn how to do is going to collapse for you to actually build a new structure. So that's why I was like, if you are going through it in the 20s, and if you're listening to this, it's very normal, because you need the structure, you know, to base something off of it.
Mm-hmm.
But that structure will be gone anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to add to that, behind the mental walls that we build in that stage sees a huge anger that is far from indifferent, and which will eventually destroy them unless they can see through their own self-delusion. I'm curious what he means by destruction, but yeah. And I can't remember if I saw through my own self-delusion or if just something external allowed me to shift out. But
Like jolted you.
yeah, I think it was starting to use psilocybin. Kind of helped me see, like, I'm not all that I'm cracked up to be. But it still took many years. It was like a process. Yeah.
Interesting. It's the mind game.
Yeah.
So powerful.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder, why do we even have a mind? What role is it playing in all of this? Brain is an organ. Mind is.
I think one of the prophetic gene keys, we either cover this already or it's part of 55 or 33. But if I remember him saying, as we become more heart-centered. Oh, it was the one where it was like we were gonna move into the frequency of the earth.
Oh, Schumann's resonance.
Yeah.
It's
Was
the
it the
last
last one?
one. 15th. Dullness, magnetism.
So what our minds are there for in that state is building things that will, like, essentially building things or structures or participating in a way that improves, like, helps the collective, if I remember.
So it's a tool to use rather than a tool that uses us.
Yes. Yeah.
This game, we just need to spiritualize it.
Yeah.
Spiritualize our ego or our mind.
It's true.
Okay. So
Gift.
16th gift, versatility. Yes, I freaking love versatility. And I operate based on multitudes or multiples at once. I don't know how to sit and read one book. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the moment that I'm reading. I wake up, and at night I read poems or I read philosophy. That's 6, 7. And depends. It really depends. But when I have a lot of different things, somehow they all make sense to me, and I know how to translate them into one whole sentence and put all the pieces together, but not in its own form, rather than the piece and bits together into something very new. So versatility is something that comes very naturally to me, and I absolutely fucking love it. I operate on it. The more, the merrier in my case when it comes to the information, but I only do it with the information and intellectual knowledge. I don't know how to do versatility with emotional intelligence, with the bodily intelligence, meaning, yeah, I can taste and smell at the same time, use all my 5 senses. But if I take 2 out and I operate on 3, my 3 are more enhanced. So less is more in this case. And when it comes to emotions, I can only love and I don't think I can love and get hurt at the same time. So each of them have their own time and space and honoring process and fullness. So it happens in one and the other, and then the other. But intellectual versatility is totally something different. Thoughts?
It's a lot to unpack. Do you think
this is about intellectual versatility here, or is it about the whole?
I think it's the uniqueness of whatever comes to you as the multitudes of something, which is why I use my example as like I'm able to actually differentiate it that way and play with it. So my stories come out very differently because I connect all these different pieces. And each of them are very unique in its own because they touch me on a deeper level. So what comes out is really the form that it's unique to me because I utilized all these multitudes of multiples. So it's like, I almost am curious to see how do you discover your versatility and what comes up.
Oh, it's a good question, and I maybe need a minute or so to brainstorm. But maybe this will come up as we dive in, because I believe that I'm versatile. But when you're kind of framing it like there's mental and there's heart or body, what about like physically? Do you feel physically versatile?
Physical as physiology.
Meaning the way you move or participate in activities like do you dance while you do the dishes? Do you
Yeah, I mean, am I learning how to dance more like feminine? Yeah. Well, I can actually box at the same time and knock you out and take, technically knock you out.
Mhm.
Yeah. But it's like, but that's the part is that you're finding your form, and we are all capable of doing multiple things at the same time, and maybe mixing and matching the intellect, maybe listening to the music, creating the art at the same time while you're cooking, or I don't know, maybe having like a spiritual orgasm at the same time, right? So, but test it, see what's your limits. What
Yeah.
is your limit, right? So, like, be curious, be imaginative, visualize it, feel it, sense it, come back into your body. All of it comes back to, where do I feel now, inside, and see what comes up and honor what's coming up. Which is almost like entire process of learning yourself as this new multidimensional being.
Yeah. Interesting. And you said your heart is somewhat limited. You feel that you can't feel love and hurt at the same time.
This is what I'm learning now.
Okay.
Is it possible? But rather than sticking with the structure that worked so far, I'm questioning everything. Like, can I love again? And can I love the same way like I did in the past? The answer is no. I'm noticing no. My love is different. It's bigger. It's more vast. It's more less conditional. Not to say more unconditional. It's less conditional because it used to be more. So it's the choice to do it and give up of something. Like, I don't know. Let me see how that feels if I give up of holding on to this specific thing.
Mhm.
But can I love and be in pain at the same time? I don't feel this is true for me. I feel like it's almost like I need to truncate it.
Yeah. It's like a switch, like electrical switch. If you're being hurt, it's like you can't open up that channel and turn it on.
Yeah, it's almost like FM, AM frequency. Like 99.7 is love, 99.8 is anger. Like, it's not the same frequency. So how can I do same two frequencies at the same time? Is it possible? I don't feel it's possible for me at the moment of my life.
Yeah, and with my limited understanding of frequency, is that even possible for anybody? Because
No, on emotional level?
how can you have more than one frequency happening? If we're speaking on emotions, like
Is the okay, so is the level of energy for anger the same as level of energy for bliss or
no,
ecstasy or I don't know,
no,
passion?
no.
Is it true that you can go from whatever lowest despair is to bump it up to bliss? You actually have to go one up and then marinate and then go one up and kind of climb your way back up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
That kind of sucks if you really think of that.
Yeah, it's worth contemplating. Like, I think you could. So now with more. Oh, let me put this. With more emotional intelligence, or let's put it this way. If you could imagine yourself with the highest emotional intelligence, maybe you in 30 years or 40 years, 50 years, do you feel like you would have space to allow for anger, or despair, and in an instant pop right up back to bliss? Be like, I accept it, come back up. Instead of, do you think it's getting, how do you put this?
Mm.
With more emotional intelligence and awareness, you're able to move through them quicker.
Somebody was going to hate when I say this, but this is what rings the bell. No, I don't think you ever get emotionally mature because there's no end to growth of it.
Yeah.
It's just I think that all emotions as love. So, okay, let me ask you this. As a father, you experienced the love of your son, loving another being that you created. Can you tell me that you love Koa now the same way like you loved him when he was born?
No.
So is there a fatherly maturity to this emotion eventually? It will never be. We think we're emotionally mature, but that's just the end target for it. But there's no target. Every love is different love. Every love grows every single day. I feel more or less. Oh, but actually I feel expanded more and more and more. With every person that comes in, with every person that I cross paths with, I expand into the feeling. So I'm going to die and end this life with the plethora of them unsolved. But yet all of them the brackets will just be bigger. And I think our maturity may be related to a response to them. And how long are we willing to be parked in despair?
Yes. That's kind of what I was asking. Like you you kind of said what I asked in a way. You said you don't park as long. And I was thinking with emotional and not even maturity, because it's a trick, that's a trap of a word, but like with emotional awareness, maybe the ability to recognize your emotional state quicker allows you to then release it and move into a new state.
I see. So you're saying you're releasing it when the time for it is completed. It's like its own entity. It's like its own intelligence that it's doing its own thing. You're just there.
Yes.
Okay, I'll take that. And then after that, you say you don't have to go the next step to the, I don't know, anger. Rather, you can actually step into the lighter frequency.
Is that
Okay, that I will take that too
okay?
because it feels correct. And then we're saying you can flip between the states. Doesn't matter the hierarchy of it. What is it dependent on? Is my question.
What are the states dependent on? The states of emotion?
Or is it
our
all?
reaction?
Yeah. Or is it all law of randomness?
Uh,
That we're all just subject to.
do you think reactions are part of the law of randomness?
or what happens to us only, or is it both?
Reactions are our choices.
Yeah, both.
If we
Our reactions to events. So say someone cuts you off in traffic, you have a choice. With emotional awareness, you feel the anger, you allow it, move back in.
But how
But
do you
that,
know where you're going to move into?
Well, it's similar to okay. So that's a good question. Because if we're used to being angry, then it's familiar and that's what we drop into. That's like our baseline. But if we're used to feeling bliss, we're more familiar with that state and that's closer to our baseline. It might not be where we land. So maybe what you're saying is we randomly pop into a new state, but we're not sure what it is. But if we practice the state, we're more likely to end up there.
Okay, ending up in the same state and dropping into the same state, is that the growth and evolution? Or is the actual randomness what makes us grow?
And again, is it the so just answer this, is it the randomness of events?
The randomness in everything. Like, how do I know I'm gonna plop right back into the bliss after the grief?
Well, you'll know because you'll feel.
But why bliss and why not happiness?
It depends. Where do you want to go?
But do I get to choose? That's the point. Do I get the choice, or is it really random?
I think that's beyond my pay grade, but I believe that we get to choose.
Wow. Yeah. Unplanned digression.
So I'm just curious. I love philosophy and knowing where people like what you believe. So you believe that your emotions are subject to random occurrence?
Yes. I don't believe, I feel this may be the truth now for me.
Okay.
Why? Because today I will wake up. Okay. It's not, the emotions are result of the
Yes.
backstage process of something.
Mhm.
So we're not really talking about the emotions. We're talking as a product of the backstage. So backstage,
Mhm.
I can just be another Nikola Tesla or Richard Rudd tomorrow and get this freaking random download, or have visions, or have learn another language out of blue that I've never thought that I can. I can just wake up with it, right? So I feel that is more accurate for the overall evolution of everything that exists in the universe, rather than us believing that we're waking up the same every morning with the same amount of knowledge, with the same amount of frequency, with the same amount of energy, and yet in the coma time of our sleep, where we left somewhere and came back to be the same, we actually experience something so profoundly that we don't even know how it affects us. So I don't think I'm crazy for waking up in a different states every morning for no reason. I take it as unique opportunity to see how far is my next step going to take me. But my emotion to it is, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that what is happening in the backstage, and based on what universe chooses me just to be in the United States, speaking two languages, talking to Eric right now, and having an audacity to say I know something about the gene keys, and I have this will, enthusiasm, and dareness to it. Where is this coming from? It's not me, right? So it's like, why me? And hence why I'm saying this is because everybody that is a living consciousness and has the consciousness and awareness of aliveness is subject to the randomness. And what if we accept that the randomness does play a big role in who we are and who are we to become, what if then is gifted to us.
Ooh. It's like, what's so interesting about our talks is when I ask you a question and I try to like get you to narrow in, you don't and you can't, and it's wonderful, and you end up bringing in, like, to me it feels like 6 possible topics that are either esoteric, philosophical, or just, just like everyday talks. So it's,
Which is,
in a way, you're the embodiment of like this random, the law of randomness and how you respond. And like you say, like your style and how you approach any question is you first check and you just speak what's true for you. And then it allows a sense of I think many of these gifts to come out from through your voice in a way.
and you feel, you tell me if I'm wrong, do you feel potential in you then, and possibility?
In a general sense, yes.
Yes. So the versatility of it all, that I somehow know how to translate into a human language, which is book knowledge, intellect, somehow, I don't know why, gives this potential. When I speak on this, I don't really think much,
Yeah.
but yet it makes sense. And as it makes sense, he actually opens up the possibility and potential to it. And the potential is what feeds this, like, whoa, it's not mine. I don't think it's mine. I do not identify with it. I totally forgot what I just said 5 minutes ago. But the point was of that uniqueness, or the daring to speak on behalf of what resonates with you in that right moment, is that you feel the potential within, or maybe not. That's why I'm asking, do you feel the potential that you can now, not because of me, just because you recognize something in you through me?
Yes. When you say potential, you're just referring to any and all potential.
Yes.
Yeah. And then something else that came up is you're speaking on, like, you wake up and you are in a state and it feels random. I definitely feel that. That that's something like, okay, I get it.
Mm.
And it's interesting because in developing routines, like you develop routines to try to manipulate the states. So if I have a morning routine, like, okay, I'll do this thing and then I'll get myself in this state, peak productivity, I'm gonna kill it. And then some days you just wake up and you're unsure, or I'm unsure rather, what the fuck is going on? Like, why did I wake up like this? Like, is it, and then you try to mentally construct reasons to why you're in that state so that you can have a story to back it up instead of just being in the feeling. And I think this kind of speaks to, like, what you're saying is you don't have to dwell there as long. Part of that is how quickly you can accept it. And this is what I'm learning from you and from Carly, really, like, really intimately, is that you both will just allow states to be, and I tend to resist them.
Mm.
I tend to be immediately resistant towards it or wanting it to quickly change. And in doing that, it's like you might think you're bouncing out to find yourself back in because you haven't fully given it the space it needs according to this law of randomness that you're speaking on. That all tracks for you.
Yeah. Which is just to prove that everything changes.
Yeah.
So do you. So do I. So everything around us. So no flower is going to flower the same ever, 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 ever.
Yeah. Flowers are a really beautiful example.
So
Woo! Child.
I have one more thing, and maybe nothing comes out of this, but genetic memory seems to be the thing that keeps us who we are, relatively speaking. Like you wake up with relatively the same body, with relatively the same memories, with relatively the same concept of space and time. Like all of these things are relatively consistent. I think an interesting concept that came up as you were speaking, and you said it was like coming through you, you don't really remember everything, but was a state of acceptance of that randomness, of the possibility of change, and the kind of allowing that genetic memory or genetic potential to be also very fluid, where we wake up almost as different people each day. And there's like some intuitive sense in me that's kind of wanting to just like note that or put a pin in it for something later that will come up. Who knows?
Random. But you said one really cool thing. It's like when you look at us, so you said we wake up the same physiologically. I would counter that. And you wake up one day with just a gray hair out of blue. And then the next day, 2 gray hairs, which is the change. And then, wrinkles and your skin is different every single night after you come back from the astral travel, whatever day we're going. Our bodies biologically change. Our amount of cells that we have are either generating or disintegrating. It's one or the other way. It's a constant change. The only thing that stays same is the concept that we create with our minds, which is coming back to that discipline, which is coming back. I have to do the ritual. Nowadays, everybody's ritualing everything. New moon ritual, full moon ritual, this transit ritual, like cycle moon ritual, like rituals, altars, right? So the concept, celebrations of birthdays, concept, celebration, structure. So it's the mind's concept that is driving our life, that we're not really aware. Like every morning I wake up and I do exact same routine. I make myself a coffee. Physically, I do I put the dishes back in the rack. I sit in the same spot. I read, which is the same concept, but how I drink that coffee, how much noise I make, and that annoys me when I put my dishes back and I make really loud sound. The information that I perceive from that book is very different that day. So something inside changed. Outside is all the same.
So
Who's this?
this is Ananda Maya
Mm-hmm.
Ma, or Ananda Mai Ma. She's one of I think Richard has a series called The Masters on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And she's one of the masters that he talks about. And her followers, she was like a guru. Her followers talked about how her appearance would change in an instant and how she would like just be floating through, and like her physical, the way she appeared to people she would age 30 years in an instant, or she would be a little girl, or it was just constantly changing. And I think of like,
So good.
he talks about her as a master because she was so heart open, and so she let go of all the concepts, all the structures, and that led to that appearance, changing, as an example of we simply are subject to, or you could say victims of, I guess. It's depending on your perspective, right? But our mind's concepts of who we are. And such a beautiful realization in the process of enlightenment, not that I would claim it, but something I've realized from others is the minute you can say to anything or to any concept or to any memory structure, well, who am I really? Or what is I? Like you can question that fully and consistently and allow the ego mind, the I to fade away. It's like we invite an intelligence to take, I guess, just that. We just invite an intelligence that's other than the I, and we allow that in, and some city-like things can happen, some profound magical things can happen out of that.
On a physical level.
I think on all levels, right?
On all levels. It's exciting to know that we are ever changing and that we are evolving to change our forms even to a more complex ways. It's like it's intimidating to the mind because wow, you're gonna introduce me something really new, but yet you're kind of excited about it, and mind just steps away, and is like no comment.
Mhm.
Okay, can we rock the gift in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay. Mastery.
Oh, are you doing city?
I mean, did you want to say anything around gift more? Or does it feel complete?
I'm not like we just went through a whirlwind. I'm not even sure if we covered it, but I think it's okay.
Well, Eric will have the audiobook right after,
Yeah.
which will explain it all.
Okay, mastery. The paradox. We have gone from lack of identification at the shadow level to identification with the skill as you approach the gift level, and then a loosening of that identification in order that you become truly versatile. At the acidic level, the issue of identifying with what you're doing is no longer relevant. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you're doing because it's not part of you any longer. It doesn't matter what you thought you are when you become totally disintegrated almost or not identify with what is.
Yeah.
That is such an easy thing to say, but yet I
Yeah.
don't think I just understand what I just said. Right?
Yeah. Yeah,
But
there's no
okay,
levels.
can I ask you this? How can we elaborate on it so freely, but yet not comprehend it? How is this coming out as any type of form that sounds profound, but we don't understand what the fuck are we talking about? Speaking on me.
How can we? Like, how are we doing this?
Yeah.
How have we
Yeah.
done this? How have we done this 15 times and now 16?
Do you think it's only in the cities?
Yeah, it tends to be where that happens, I think.
So is it fair to say that we can talk about this, but we don't understand really what are we talking about?
Uh, so I just caught my eye while you were asking this question. In traditional Eastern approaches to higher consciousness, the cities are understood in a different context. Okay, no, that's actually not relevant. He's talking about the lure of the cities from Eastern philosophy standpoint, meaning like that they're dangerous.
But he says they're an essential part of our evolution. But to go back to your question,
Just dawned to me. Okay, go ahead.
oh, I'm curious. My answer is I don't think so. I think the only way we can even approach this is by talking and using metaphor and using analogies of our lives, but understanding of the city would mean that in some way we have embodied it.
That's exactly what I wanted to touch base on. Your talent is based upon the knack of not identifying with any set of skills any longer. So if our language and the way we elaborate is the skill, and yet we can't connect with what we're talking about, doesn't mean it's the state that we don't really identify with any longer because we're using this skill to elaborate. So you're saying, are you saying we're operating on the CD? How dare you say they were enlightened?
This one, so I think 13, I was like, I get it. Like I can feel it. Like I could embody it. I felt it. This one, occasionally he talks about cities and he throws in like if you have this city, that means you can play the most complicated piano piece with no history of ever touching a piano and then move on like nothing happened and do the next thing. And I'm like, okay, no, I don't have this.
I can move on, after becoming an Olympian.
Yeah. You'd be like, I did it. Wow. Like what happened to me? Like what all this
Yeah.
needing to process it because it's the perspective of me and I in the world
And
participating.
identification for you,
Yeah.
of you
So
with it.
this one really felt like if I had an embodied knowledge of it, it would put me in a place where we wouldn't be doing this podcast. I don't know what I would. It's like I might be in Russia tomorrow. Like who knows what would happen with that level of mastery, you know?
Or of not identification with it, with you being so good in something that you really don't even know,
Yeah.
or that you don't want it,
It
or you're like, move away. I
it
don't need it. Bye.
yeah. It feels a bit like when highly autistic children can have like this insane artistic ability as an example. And when they're interviewed about it, they're like, I don't know, it just kind of happens. And you're like, what? It's a little
Hmm.
it's a little bit like that, but this to me is at a level of it's not just piano, it's not just painting, it's not just poetry, it's whatever the moment calls for, and it's
Randomness.
random.
Oh my God. This is the theme on today's call, randomness.
Mhm.
So who chooses this? No, let me rephrase. Are the CD states even something we can pre-plan how to get to?
No,
Or do they happen random?
no. They're an essential part of our evolution, but the minute we plan for it is the is like the downfall of us evolving to get there, I think.
Well, okay, yeah, okay. I resonate with that too.
Mm.
Is the randomness the reason why we connect with some profoundly, you feel them in your body, and you don't with some other.
Yeah.
If so, I'm questioning the randomness now. If you're able to connect with the 13 and you can't connect with this one, that's not randomness. That's just something else that you already know, you deserve, or you know very well.
Yeah.
Maybe it's your past life.
Yeah. And then, yeah. And I think you're starting to question the same thing, which is like, what is even randomness? Because that also is a concept, a structure.
It's not. The point is not to have a structure. That's why it's random. It's shuffle. It's not because you did all this work and ayahuasca trips and you did all the mushrooms and psilocybins and everything, and you traveled back and forth many times and you became Ramdas and Maharaji and all gurus and sadgurus. No, it can simply just be because I did no work whatsoever. So to get to a level of, go ahead.
It's so close to indifference. They're like neighbors.
Oof. Is indifference the choice to sit at the TV rather than trust? Watch trash TV versus just, I don't know, continuing to do what you enjoy doing. But who says the trash TV is not
I was just thinking,
my true gift?
why what keeps Buddha, why wouldn't Buddha watch trash TV?
Yeah. You know which one comes every time? Very often when we do this, you know which one comes in? It was one of the Oshos that you sent me a long time ago. Until you're utterly confused, you're not gonna get anywhere.
Yeah.
We're doing a great job, Eric.
And I want to dismantle randomness because it feels like another attachment. It feels like they're like, no, it's random. I'm like, wait a second.
I
Is there
feel it's a
comfort in the
teaser.
idea of randomness?
It's a comfort in novelty of it today at this moment. So maybe in 7 days will be something else. But the novelty is really what is teasing me and tickling me, stimulating me to think that way now, today. What if? Just what if? It's a theory. Nothing is proven. If we prove something, we can disprove it. So that makes it to nothing.
Here we are. So I have a question.
Yeah.
Because I want to escape out of this sand trap we have ourselves in. When you have friends or associates that have listened, do they ever tell you about city, like when they listen to the city, us contemplating, do they ever touch on it with you? Do they ever give you feedback?
This is the feedback I received. Two different souls, two different energies blending in very well. No, specifically on the states, and because we don't really chop them in exact chunks, we kind of just fly through them left and right.
Yeah.
The evolution throughout the series is very obvious and visible, and in a you'll hate this word, I know. Well, not hate it, but it will get stuck in your mind. By the choice of shuffling on randomness, when they go on our Instagram account and they just go like this and they upload it, it's like the message for them. So it made them cry. And I'm like, and the feedback was like, when is next coming? And I'm like, it's been 2 months since I posted, right? And why? I don't know why. It just is. When will be the next one? I don't know. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow. You know, it's like very random.
Yeah. Oh.
But it's doing something and it has its own spirit. That's what I think. It's like the creation of some sort of energy field that causes a reaction to people. And that's the point. And it's not destructive reaction, it's constructive actually. So that was, wow, that was shocking to me, to be honest.
Yeah.
What's coming up?
What's coming up is the difficulty in letting go of identification.
What are you identifying with right now?
What are we not identifying? You know what I mean? It's but specifically when you talk about impact, it's not like I'm saying like I want to identify. It's more of, like you said earlier, like why me? Like why us? Like why? And not like a martyr or a victim or even why was I chosen? Just kind of like word vomit. I don't know what's happening.
Does it feel right
I feel like I'm purging something.
right now?
Yeah.
Okay, can you name the feeling?
It's like disgust. Ugliness. Yeah.
Self-worth? Unfairness?
This is very interesting. It's solar plexus, gut feeling, and it's just like uneasy. Yeah.
Is there this part that comes up? Is it saying anything specifically? Can you ask it?
Oh. This feels deeper than this topic. It's like I don't know why this is coming up, but it's this hatred for existence. What a weird, like how it was triggered from that conversation.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Do you want to work with it or you want to just let it be?
It feels like it just is right now. It's like I recognize it as the part, and then I'm sitting in the curious state, like, whoa, what is this?
Hmm. If you tap into your heart,
Yeah.
and your heart, does your heart tell you different thing? Your heart.
It's my heart sees, it's like seeing the paradox. It's like seeing or feeling that it adds depth. Like my heart's kind of just like, it's like it's known about it.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, yeah, kind of makes sense.
You want to play with something?
Sure.
If you, in your heart, if you have two chairs and two
Oh yeah,
chairs,
parts work.
huh?
Parts work.
What is it?
Teal Swan calls it parts work. It sounds like you have
I
two
don't know
chairs
what
and
that.
you go into the part fully and you talk to the other part and then you go to the other one.
I never heard of that, but something I was just because the entire time I just had these two chairs of both those parts sitting, and I recalled Marina Abramovich's performance with two chairs in MoMA in New York in 2019 or whatever the age, in silence, and they sit and they held hands
Oh.
until they actually accepted each other because they fed from each other's love and fear. So love overcomes and kind of hugs this entire fear that is acting as a protector and telling you all these different things and associates it back to you. But it has to be in this like intimate environment of trust and safety. And trust and safety only comes from that heart. So it's almost like if you can just like envision these two chairs sitting across each other in silence, or maybe they can talk, they can have an active dialogue or a monologue. Play with it
Yeah.
and see.
Go ahead.
See how can you make the part that it's in solar plexus safe, because it's freaking out.
Yeah.
And your heart does not. It's very steady, it's soft, it's gentle, it's nurturing, it's accepting, it's universal, it's knowing, it's powerful.
Yeah, it's interesting because an initial touch when you asked me what the heart feels, it was like, no, we've already accepted, like, where are you at? Where have you been? But for some reason, the conversation around you and I being, even using the word conduit kind of feels like yucky. It's just like yucky around the whole thing. Like, it's almost like a recognition of ego wanting to not be the ego, to not be recognized so that it can get recognized, like the whole playing the game to get the thing.
Wow.
And then it's like, yeah, that deep solar plexus, like disgust for the whole thing. Like, why are we even like, I want to do lion's breath extreme. And I will after this.
Wow. I can't just leave you like this.
You're always with me.
Well, I just have to say one thing.
Sure.
We grow with it. And it's such a possibility for our own growth that it's worth the time. If you ask me, it's worth the effort that it doesn't even feel like an effort. It's worth the expansion of the space that it's already spaceless. I think all of this is that we're doing is really for nothing. To realize that it was already there.
Yeah.
And trusting it is the only thing that I can do because it feels right at this moment. And the moment it doesn't feel right, it will stop. And I feel like it's going to be very neutral. So you can just make me a best friend of your defenders and all these guys that are coming up in your solar plexus, and I'll be their best friend.
I just burped and it was like
perfect. Ooh. It came out?
Yeah. Well, some of it, yeah.
Damn. Yeah. So I just want to thank you for being all parts of Eric that show up diligently to this thing again and again and again.
Thank you. And it's
Damn.
It's crazy how it's evident to how safe I do feel with you that even I'm bringing it up, because normally I would be like, thanks for the show, bye, and then go and distract myself with like, who knows what, food or a YouTube show or something like that. And it's like, well, what is this? Let me take a moment to just touch on it. And then you ask me to reflect and look at the parts, and it's like it's not even a question for me of like, do I feel safe right now?
Mhm.
And it's like we are, in a way, we're creating a bubble or a portal or something of like, yeah, it's a unique energy, and I thank you for it and for being sturdy is the word I want to use, but I know that you don't always show up emotionally like steady, but it's more of like sturdy in trust and intuition. And
Mm.
that adds like a depth and a flavor to this experience that I don't get anywhere else.
I'll take it. I'm learning how to. Thank you,
Thank
man.
you.
Thank you, and just love,
Yeah.
love, love you.
Love you.
Bye.